Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at the ripple effects, the immediate ones, following some recent deadly attacks.
We're drawing on news reports, mainly.
Yeah, and our mission, you could say, is to get a clearer picture of how key leaders and authority, how they initially reacted, the very first responses.
Exactly, because those first few hours, those first days, they're really telling, aren't they? The actions, the statements, they show priorities.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then. One of the first things that jumped out was Prime Minister Modi's schedule in Saudi Arabia.
Ah, yes. The change there.
News outlets reported his return was moved up, wasn't it, from Wednesday night to Wednesday morning?
That's correct. And they specifically cited the attacks as the reason.
So what does that kind of immediate shift, what does it signal, really?
Well, adjusting diplomatic travel, especially cutting it short like that, it's not a small thing.
No.
It strongly suggests the Prime Minister felt his presence was urgently needed back in India. It prioritizes the domestic crisis over those ongoing diplomatic talks.
Speaks to how serious they viewed the attacks then.
Absolutely. The perceived severity must have been quite high.
Okay. And following that sort of thread of immediate response, we also saw reports about Home Minister Amit Shah.
Rushing to Srinagar?
Yeah, rush to Srinagar. That was the phrase used right after the attack on tourists. The stated reason was to hold a high-level meeting.
Right.
What's the significance of, going there directly to the location?
Well, having the Home Minister on the ground almost immediately, it sends a very powerful message.
How so?
It shows direct engagement, first off, no distance, and it allows for a first-hand look at the situation, not just relying on reports.
Okay.
Plus, holding a high-level meeting right there in Srinagar means you can get swift coordination going, security agencies, local authorities, getting everyone on the same page quickly, which is critical after an attack like that.
So it's about showing leadership is present, but also practical coordination on the spot.
Precisely. Both symbolism and practical necessity.
Got it. Now, these things, they don't happen in isolation, do they? There was an international dimension, too.
Of course.
The reports highlighted condolences coming in from several world leaders. I think they mentioned Donald Trump, Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni.
And Vladimir Putin, yes. Those names were mentioned specifically.
So this kind of global response, messages of condolence, what does that generally signify? Is it just protocol?
It is standard diplomatic protocol, yes. Expressing solidarity, condemning violence, that's expected.
Okay.
But, who sends the messages is also interesting. It often reflects existing diplomatic relationships or perhaps a shared view on the severity of what happened.
Right.
The fact that you have leaders like Meloni and Putin who might have different stances on other global issues, both offering condolences, it sort of underscores a universal condemnation of such attacks, at least publicly.
So standard practice, but the specific list of names can still offer some nuance about relationships and perceived importance.
Exactly. It's part of that complex diplomatic signaling.
Okay, so if we sort of pull these threads together, what we've seen in the immediate aftermath is a top leader cutting short an international trip,
Prioritizing the return home.
a key security figure heading straight to the affected area for direct oversight and meetings,
Right. Boots on the ground leadership.
and then this wave of international messages, condolences, and support.
Yeah, that sums up the initial picture pretty well. A swift, multi-pronged response addressing security on the ground and managing the international angle.
So this brings us to you listening in. Thinking about these first reactions, the schedule changes, the on-location meetings, the international statements, what bigger questions does this raise for you?
Yeah, like how do these immediate, very visible steps shape what comes next?
And what about the less obvious actions? What might be happening behind the scenes following these initial responses? Something to maybe mull over until our next deep dive.